Station complete.
Yo. 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 Yo.
What is going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and welcome to your inspirational astrology horoscope for this weekend of September the 6th through the 7th, 2025. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks for being a part of highvibe.tv. Of course, if you're not a part of highvibe.tv, make sure that you do join us on our apps and, of course, on our website. And also join us on hypergate.ai for the best and the only AI astrology that actually works and does more than work. It is the bomb astrology, not just tool, but also for those that want to take astrology to the next level. It's good to be with you. Of course, I'm always here to illuminate the collective consciousness, and I'll be talking to you tonight about this lunar eclipse that will be in Pisces. But let's not forget Uranus stationing retrograde in Gemini. It's going to be happening just hours from now. I'm recording this on Friday, September 5th at 18:47. It's good to be with you all. Of course, I show up here on YouTube every 2 weeks to talk about the new moon, full moon, and what's going on. But I do this every day on my weekly and daily astrology horoscopes on highvibe.tv and many other shows that I as well do on highvibe.tv. And of course, I'm sitting in the High Vibe TV studios. It's good to be with you all. The way that I would pretty much put this energy for what we're going to be going through and what we are going through and what we will go through. One, we've been here before. This exact set of eclipses happened to us in 2006. Same date, ironically enough, September 7th, 2006. Same lunar eclipse in Pisces. Now, things were different then. Saturn was in Leo. We definitely were not with Uranus and Gemini. We definitely weren't even in Pluto Capricorn or Aquarius, right? We were back in Pluto Sag days right before the end of that transit. But it's important because I'll give you a couple ways to set it up. It was that September that when these eclipses did come, that the housing crisis began, and everybody wanted to play the South Node in Virgo and say, just keep running the way the world's working and just do the illusion to just keep it running. So really the whole financial crisis of 2008 actually began during these eclipses that we're going to come under. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily is going to happen, but it is quite interesting when you see the world today and what's going on. So we just have to remember that was literally the marker points. It's when, if you look at the history, the data points of like, hey, this shit's starting to go bad, and people not wanting to believe it. So it's kind of ironic. We have a North Node, of course, in Pisces, and we have a Pisces lunar eclipse, and people don't want to believe sometimes in actually what's happening, and they actually do the opposite. They actually want to like believe in this unconscious behavior of reality not changing. And that reality is going to just stay the way it is. I mean, we are at a bigger turning point than all of our lives have ever seen as we come into these eclipses, because of course we'll be seeing now with Uranus that's going to station retrograde, we've seen 3 planets, outer planets, move into new signs. Pluto into Aquarius, that was in November of 2024. Neptune ingress into Aries, that was in March of 2025. And then just here in July, on the 7th, just 2 months ago, we saw Uranus ingress into Gemini. That's 3 outer planets in less than, what was it? I guess that's about 8 months time that you saw move into all new signs. Now we're going to see 2 of these planets, of course, move back to where they were. And this is the eclipses that are reminding us that we have to go backwards. Saturn, of course, just recently made its retrograde back and ingressing back into Pisces at the 29th degree. The last time that Saturn had actually ingressed back into Pisces was back in 1937. So no, back in 1996 when we saw Saturn's ingress into Aries, it stayed in Aries. The time before that in 67, no, it stayed in Aries. Go back to 1937. So this is, most people that are watching this and alive, I'm sorry, but you probably weren't very conscious if you were alive. You'd have to be really born in the 20s and really have been aware, and you were still a kid. So this is something that our collective is really not accustomed to already, just having Saturn retrograde from Aries and ingress over the 0 point back to the last degree of the zodiac. And Saturn's been sitting with Neptune for months. And now Saturn and Neptune by intercept are not in the same signs. Even though they're conjunct, they're not in the same signs. So this is like this in-between world, whereas we've gotten a glimpse of what's possible. What's ahead? What can be ahead? And there's a lot of positives with it. A lot of fresh new energy, a lot of fresh starts. A lot of this new, whether it's exciting ideas, technological, all the way to just maybe some epiphanies in your mind that have really come into like a wow factor. We've also seen some of the more dangerous stuff that could come forward, which a lot of it is restricting the identity of who you are to be it, or being kind of forced to kind of be in a kind of identity. Especially even about communication. I mean, there's a lot of countries right now where you can't speak up and say what you want to say. Somebody's been warning about that one for a long time. These are just little pieces of this idea, but I like the idea of coming back. Now, Pisces is not the most fun sign. Of course, it gets a bad rap of always being about subconscious, unconscious, drugs, alcohol, hospitals, prisons, you name it, whatever is going to take you and put you away. And almost as if like, if I were to use like a biblical sense, and I'm not religious, a religious sense, like you've been a bad soul and God's here to punish you and put you in time out. I look at it as the only way for us to move into anything with true consciousness is to actually get a glimpse of something and then realize what we actually need to do. Sometimes that actually might be that unconscious we thought we were conscious with, and actually it's the consciousness of going, whoa, I've got some big shifts to make here in my life. I really do have to cut this out. I really do have to come, and it's almost like a second chance. And at the same time, it's also we got to see the prequel, right? The release is coming out spring of 2026, the new world. So, but these are the eclipses, and this lunar eclipse this weekend, this Uranus stationing retrograde is the very beginning of all that, okay? That we are going back. So I'll pull up chart-wise, but I do want to show you kind of the visual of where I've been with this one. I like to make visuals, of course, for all my horoscopes. The lunar eclipse in Pisces, stress is an illusion. Kind of like this one. Of course, got the fish hanging out there. Got the crazy Joker style guy everywhere. I mean, it can bring up, we are in a lot of mutable energy. And of course, traditionally, just even if it was like, if I was doing a sun sign horoscope or something for you, like 6th, 12th house transits, lunar eclipses, stuff like that, they can be difficult. I think these are difficult for the world, but they are ones to where there's a lot to clear out. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of doing things in the same pattern, in the same routine that wear themselves out. Another good example is like back in 2006, I really love seeing like how the spiritual community blossomed. You know, it was like Eckhart Tolle started to become really big with Power of Now. We all know the one tarot lady who's now so Christian. She tells you we're all going to go to hell. She got big then. But there was a big spiritual, big movement that began. Well, if you look at the spiritual movement now, it definitely, we've lost a lot of people because they're afraid of I guess, they're afraid of religion, but they're actually jumping to religion to stay safe. We've lost a lot of people to just, whether it was pressure by governments, family, friends, and that's okay. It's not like I'm sitting here trying to keep tabs. But this is about that new spiritual frontier and who's going to be part of that now. It also is one that is going to highlight where I speak so much about the collective consciousness, but where's our collective unconscious at? You know, this is about clearing up the shit, clearing up the stuff within ourselves that need to be cleared up spiritually. This was another one I did. This was kind of an interesting one. You know, Pisces definitely is the conscious and unconscious. It also is the bridger between dimensions. I've always thought that whenever I look at the Pisces glyph, that it is two worlds separated, but the line between that's connecting them, right? And I've always thought of that bridge there. And so it's the bridge, whether it's our unconscious or conscious, our left or right brain, however you want to look at it, it does sing to these duality aspects. It is probably out of the dualistic signs, and especially because it is the water mutable dualistic sign, I would say this is the true energy of duality itself. But we have quite a weird transit happening right before this lunar eclipse. Is literally September 5th, right before we come into the 7th with the lunar eclipse. We are having Uranus station retrograde in Gemini. Now, of course, this is one of the bigger transits of the year. One, because Pluto is in Aquarius, so the dispositing sign for Uranus, of course, is Aquarius, and there's Pluto. And then we're seeing the trine between Uranus and Pluto. We're seeing the sextile of Uranus to Saturn, Neptune. We're also, of course, seeing Pluto in that same sextile back. We're seeing these outer planets in harmony. I've gone back in time, and to find it in harmony like this is almost impossible to find. Not kidding. And especially this tight an orb. So we are living in the prime time. Although for some, it might not feel like it. It might feel like quite the opposite. Well, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Uranus and Gemini, this is where this idea of like quantum comes, our minds going quantum, the dualistic energy going into radical new ways, technology, how we communicate. I mean, big part of the last time that we saw Uranus and Gemini, when it approached leaving Taurus in the end of the 1930s and we came into the 1940s, right at the beginning with Uranus Gemini, I mean, the whole World War II is about the technology, radar, believe it or not, UFOs. Go look at the first computer, the first supercomputer. The Nazis had all that weird stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff that Uranus and Gemini brought out. It's also a time where the world, you know, when Uranus is in Taurus, I always say it doesn't feel stable. Now it's, you know, how well are you doing in your mind? How well does the environment feel? Are you feeling out of sorts? Well, at least we got Pluto in trine here in Aquarius. I mean, this is another rare transit, right? All of us watching this alive, I was born after the Uranus and Pluto conjunction. We've never seen the trine, right? Then I went back to even find out when was the last time that you could have seen the trine like this, and then also at the same time to like see how we had like Mars and Libra, which is during this eclipse and so forth, but in the grand trine when we had the mystical rectangle weeks ago, and then we also had the grand trine with Mars. There was nothing that tight. You have never been able to see a Mars in a grand trine with Uranus and Pluto. That just happened about a month ago. We're in never in your life, and even in millennium, sometimes in the cases of 4 millennium, seen some of this stuff. So Uranus stationing retrograde is the last of these outer planets that have all been into this new idea of the new world that are all in harmony. Now that Uranus stations retrograde right before this lunar eclipse, the ball game's done. You got your preview. Go back, leave the stadium, and go back to where you came from. It's kind of the energy. Saturn has already begun retrograding and ingress back into Pisces. And we're not done with that transit, right? We only got a little preview of Saturn in Aries, May 25th into 26th, up until weeks ago, right? I mean, it's like, that's nothing. We still got to finish Pisces, and Pisces deals with the backlog. It deals with the endings. We haven't done the endings of the old world yet. We haven't also really faced what we're leaving for last, the things that we push to the back the farthest subconsciously, the things that we push under the rug the most. And so this is what's going to be brought up during this lunar eclipse. So let's take a look at that. I just want to remind people about Uranus and Gemini and how important it is that it is stationing in retrograde. Literally, just hours. I mean, it's a lot of hours, right? It's about a day and a half, but about 36 hours prior to the lunar eclipse. So let's look at this lunar eclipse. Remember, we had the same exact one, September 7th, 2006, same degree, 15 degrees of Pisces. This one tighter to the North Node than back then. This is a very tight eclipse. And we also have Mercury, of course, in Virgo with the South Node here. And this is the good eclipse, the North Node eclipse, because this is where the North Node of the Moon is with the Moon. Right? So this is the better eclipse, the North Node eclipse. The harder one's always the South Node, but it's always a little softer. But it's about letting it go. And then what's weird is being in Pisces, it's about letting things go. In order to end a thing, you finally have to let go. You finally have to leave the movie theater. You finally have to close the book. But we're not done with Pisces yet. We still got Saturn in retrograde, and it's coming back to 25 degrees this year. And we got Neptune that's going to retrograde back after these eclipses, out of Aries and back into Pisces. So we're not out of this Pisces story, although we've been in quite a nice little 3-month little break from Pisces after the beginnings of 2003 when Uranus came in. We've been in always having Pisces. So you really, part of this new world was like the exit from Pisces, but now it's this re-entry point. And this eclipse is definitely the re-entry into Pisces. So where there's elephants all over the room, have to come out. Pisces reveals the biggest of mysteries. It can also try and hide them. Now, when I look at this one, it's very interesting just using dispositing. It's just like, okay, North Node of Pisces, well, it's disposited by Neptune, the planet that rules over Pisces, and Neptune's in Aries. And then, of course, Neptune, it's in Aries, and Mars is the dispositor. Mars is in detriment in Libra here, and it's been squared to Jupiter in Cancer. So don't let this be some sort of crushing blow in your life about something. Like maybe you're especially with Uranus stationing retrograde, this definitely could bring out a shock like, well, this isn't maybe what I thought, or I didn't think it would end up this way, or this is definitely a change that I wasn't expecting, that I had thought everything was going smooth, and now it maybe is shifting a lot of directions. There's a lot of direction shifting during this eclipse. Not just because it's eclipses, but because it's a Pisces Virgo eclipse, while Uranus is in Gemini, just stationed retrograde. And Mars in Libra and in square to Jupiter in Cancer. Now Jupiter's exalted. We see Jupiter that's been making a trine to the North Node, and yeah, the moon is making an approaching trine to Jupiter. So I don't think this is like the worst eclipse ever or anything like that. I think it's still a reminder of the emotional container we have to have for, one, appreciating our past, having to also emotionally create a container for this new adventure, right? This new world we're stepping into, and how can we do it better? Now that's what Pisces is about. Let's make things better. Let's make the edits. Let's make the changes that need to happen. Although creating more stress is not the answer. Creating a change to keep something the way it is isn't the answer. Do we really want the world to stay the way it continually is? I don't. I don't think the world's going that great, to be honest with you. There's way too much building up in the collective, right? And that's where I think that Pluto in Aquarius comes in, which I think is a really interesting place because, one, it's in a sesquiquadrate to the sun. It's in a semi-square to this lunar eclipse. And the revolution has not happened yet. Right? It's like the illusion that the revolution's happened. It hasn't happened. Right? The masters that be have created on the right and the left that the right has won and that they have created a revolution. They haven't. They're doing the same things the left does, and the left does the same things the right does. Right? Are we going to really just keep staying in this same old idea that we're having a revolution? Right now, whether you look at it from across the world, there's effed up stuff happening everywhere. This is where the people have to wake up. This is where we have to look at the last 30 years, especially if you just think of Pisces, Saturn and Pisces going back. Right? Saturn was at Pisces 94, 95, and 96. But, we're in a Saturn-Neptune conjunction that's going to be happening in February at the 0 point of Aries. Hasn't happened there since 4361 BCE, over 6,400 years ago. So this is definitely a new beginning coming. But we need to really see Pluto here is where's the spark? Now, it's a little hard because Uranus stationed retrograde just a day prior to this lunar eclipse. And it's all funneling back to this Virgo energy, which makes it feel mundane, makes people want to stay in the mundane. I just want to keep my job. I just want to keep things running okay. I really don't want to shake it up. Well, I will tell you that besides Aquarius that shakes things up, the other sign that shakes it up is Pisces. Pisces will be chill and let things gather up until finally the filtration system doesn't work and the clogged filter is so filtered up that finally it disrupts in that kind of way. It lets it loose, right? It's when the toilet overflows. And finally, we need to get a plunger. And this isn't just keep the toilet going even though it's clogged. Right? In yourself, this is a big look spiritually at your life. And it's a wider view. This is why I love Pisces and I like the vibe here is that it's about how do you surrender to what isn't working? How do you surrender to, my life is boring, and accepting it's boring because it no longer is serving the way it works. It's not spiritually serving you anymore. If you're just here to be an NPC or you're just here to be part of the matrix and just be just an NPC, well, guess what? That's not allowed anymore. There are dreams to be had. There is higher spiritual vibrations for us to tap into. Having stress about change is not going to help you right now. And I know there could be people where it feels very the opposite that I'm saying, because Pisces can be an illusion itself, right? It feels like I'm at the end of the road. Maybe your job's ending. Maybe you're out of money. Maybe that relationship's fucking coming to the end. Maybe you're there's some weird situation here where the elephant in the room's so big that nobody's saying anything, but when it does, it's going to explode everything. You can't be afraid. This is where we have to give it to God. We have to give it to that higher energy. We have to give it to Creator. We have to let go of that stress. We have to take that burden off the collective by stressing ourselves out and also maintaining the status quo. We cannot do that. This is Pluto in Aquarius. This is Uranus and Trine in Gemini. This is about uniqueness. This is about expression. This is about air energy, communication, new ways of doing things. And then we have that Neptune in Aries. And we did have Saturn in Aries with Neptune. We will get that back in February of 2026. But until then, we are going to have to go backwards. But we did get a preview. And we got a preview of that the soul is what must be embodied now as our purpose, our identity, and not creating an identity that's housing a soul. Now, we call that the ego. Now, I think we always have an ego, even as a soul, but I think that we actually created the false identity of a persona that wasn't the soul first. I believe that with Saturn and Neptune coming together in February and then having this eclipse here in Pisces, to me, this is saying, let's get that soul back, or never before seen fully. It's not easy. It's the most sensitive sign. I just had 2 more root canals yesterday, so trust me, I know. Pisces, the sensitivity to things, the nerves, but that also deals with Virgo too. And so whenever you're dealing with eclipses here, it's going to bring up nervousness, anxiety, actual sensitivities. And so like on High Vibe this week, I told everybody on High Vibe, I was like, yo, if you can't remember what happened in September of 2006, then that will come back. Because Pisces is about the past. And with Saturn here, Saturn saying, how could you forget that? Saturn's the time lord. So when people blank out about their past, I don't remember what happened then. Now, I know, granted, the last time we had this eclipse was September 7th, 2006. MySpace was at its peak. So, yeah, I know it's hard. They took their servers down, so it's not like you can pull up your old albums. You can use Wayback Machine, which is very much what this eclipse is also, Wayback Machine. And you can look up your MySpace and see pages that it recorded, 2004, 2005, 2006. Trust me on that one. But also at that time, we did have like LG like flip phones that did have, we were bumping our music, like an MP3 that we downloaded. And we were like sending text messages and we were taking our first pictures. We were uploading for the first time a mobile video on YouTube through the computer. I know because my first YouTube channel is 2006. Now, why would I say this eclipse is coming after the people more who can't remember? Because when you blank out the past, Saturn is here to go, why did you blank it out? Saturn, wherever it is, it's going to not just make you grow up. It's going to put the reality in your face. Okay? Saturn rules the bones, it rules the teeth. Saturn rules the time, our age, and it has to rule time. And when there's a blank area in the time, karma, dharma get confused. And so what does that associate with? Well, Pisces deals with not the kind of trauma that Scorpio or an 8th house trauma is, but it deals with the trauma in the karmic line of your life. So a lot of the answers to where your soul truly can express itself more, get over anxieties, get over situations, and really learn to trust in the divine and be your best spiritual self, deals with, well, what happened the last time we had the same eclipse? Because I can tell you, and I showed it to people on High Vibe, I thought it was actually cool. Like, I fucking had my resignation letter September 20th, 2006. I posted it for people to show people like where it was at, gave them a little bit of a backstory. Like, I can remember all those little things, right? So for me, it's really easy going, oh, this is when I did have to trust, like, you know what, being an astrologer was going to be my path, and the 9 to 5 wasn't the right way. And I had seen the writing on the wall because I was in the boat biz, and the boats people took out seconds on their homes for those years, 2004, 2005. And I was the parks manager and I was making a killing. But then it just like, 2006 was really difficult. It was starting to watch every fireman, every policeman, especially all the people in mortgage just be broke. And I'm like, well, you guys just made tons of money. And they're like, there's nothing happening now. I'm like, what? Watching all these people get repos and all that stuff. And there was nothing in the media yet. So it was like this weird thing that I knew about that I was able to see. So for me, there's a lot there. And a lot of it was, I was doing astrology. I was at raves all the time. Might have been on a lot of other things at that same time too. But you know what? That was the most crucial change point I'll never forget in my life. That changed my life forever. It was September 2006. And everybody I've met that does this spiritual work, they can pinpoint it every time I ask them. People who play with spirituality but don't embody it fully, there's a gap. There's a gap. Now we can have some fun and talk about things like 3i Atlas, the interstellar object. Is it a comet? Is it not? It's coming closer. We're already in September. October is when it's going to come out of sight on the 3rd, but it is getting closer to Mars. We are seeing it now in Scorpio, tropically now. But I will say, we can talk about things like that. But what if I were to say that because Pisces deals with blocks, now it's with Saturn, and we have this North Node lunar eclipse with Saturn. Remember, 2006, if you were to go back to 1994, 1995, that's not enough time. That would have been South Node eclipse stuff. Meaning that you are not going to track a North Node lunar eclipse of Saturn in Pisces in your life. And you're not going to do one because Saturn from Aries retrograde back into Pisces hasn't happened since 1937. So you've never been through this before. But what we can say is we can go back and go, during that time in 2006, people who are blanked out, their whole understanding of where their biggest spiritual block is right there, because you had to face it. And I don't care what age you were, whatever, that means your family, your friends, they know what happened. Situations happened. But people don't want to pay attention. And that's what the block is. Saturn is about attention. It's about what time you show up in the morning. What are you doing with your life? What is your purpose? Well, if you don't even have the basics of understanding what the blocks are, how are you going to achieve anything? How are we going to make the dream happen when the block is in front of the dream? So that means you can't see it. So if you can't see your past, how well can you see your future? Now I know there's always the talk of the power of now, which came out during this time, which ironically is kind of funny. This is when that book really was circulating. 2006 is like when it was like everybody had, I think 2004 and 5 was like those 2 years, and in 2006 it was like finally like everybody had read that bitch. But it's kind of funny because South Node Virgo is very much the moment. People get really lost in this moment. Like, what am I doing next? Look at this. I don't like the way this is. I don't like the way that is. I don't like the way, I need to fix this. I need to get working out more. And then diets become big. Oprah was pushing the biggest new diet at the time, and so was, I did this all on High Vibe last week. I thought it was so funny because it's like, if you see what the diets were, those people, those diets didn't work for them. Right? So people become very obsessed in Virgo here. Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, with the sun, with the South Node in opposition to this lunar eclipse. I mean, people are too much in the moment. But that's the whole thing, is the wider point of view is understanding present, past, and future. And so if you have gaps about your past, there's always an issue with future. There's always going to be a gap, because it's all connected in this understanding of multi-dimensional energies and the multiverse, and Pisces rules that. Hence I showed you all earlier. It's the bridge between two worlds, right? So if this is your past and this is your future, and you have a bunch of fuzzy spots down your line, and then this is the present, and here's your future, there's fuzzy spots here if there's fuzzy spots here. And I get crap a lot about this lately. Like, oh, well, like I don't think that way. Is it about thinking? We store our past as our cherished memories. The ones that we love the most, we cherish the most, that's where we store them. It's memories. It's our past. But it's also where we store the harshest memories. Hence it rules prisons. It's not so much about ending up in a prison or ending up in a mental institution or ending up in a hospital. It's the experience spiritually you had. Why is it that everybody, I won't blanket, Pisces can blanket, but it's like a lot of people who end up incarcerated end up really spiritual or religious. A lot of people who have an experience like a big surgery in a hospital and almost lose their life, whether it's through them or a loved one, change spiritually. Those are things that happen that shift your spiritual awareness. If you've got fuzzy energy about the past, I don't know what happened. You don't want to know. You're not inquisitive enough with Uranus and Gemini that just retrograded to ask with Pluto and Trine the answer to the change in your life, the idea, the communication. So that's another thing. Pluto and Trine to Uranus, the way that we're going to get forward is you have a direct beam of understanding the future and you exactly know the answers and you also know what to ask. Throughout my whole life, if I didn't know something, I would ask every person I know in my family, my parents first, my grandparents, like, hey, what was going on then? What was happening then? What were they doing? Oh, that makes sense. Maybe because I'm an astrologer, or maybe because I just really understand that the vibrations of the past connect with your vibrations of the future, whether you like it or not, right? So that's why you see people in patterns, and this is all about patterns, this eclipse. Right? You're never going to stop the pattern of always being broke until you understand the things that you don't want to see. That's the blocks that make you broke. If you always never find a lover and it always is a horrible relationship and it never ends, you're blocking out the things that you could understand about that. It's about the most purest sense of honesty in Pisces that must be found, where you cannot deceive and you cannot lie to yourself. Now, lying to others, I don't think is good. The worst we can do is lie to ourselves, right? Especially about our past, especially about understanding, like, where have we got things to where we slip on the banana peel? And I feel like this is a big banana peel moment. Right? Like for especially the world, but especially our own lives. But I don't think it's a negative. I think there's a lot of positive here, especially for our future and what's coming up. But what we can also come back to and have this second chance to go, you know what? I'm going to clear this. I'm going to let go of this. I'm going to face this. I'm going to face my past. I'm going to clear that up. I'm going to clear this up. I'm going to actually do that subconscious work and get to the conscious place. People have problems with that, though. And I think that with Pluto here, if you think about it, Pluto in semi-square, the sesqui-quadrant to the sun here, Pluto's involved. Mars in square to Jupiter, you're trying to go forward too much, right? You think your future right now in this bigger moment that you think will be about some emotional thing that you should attain and this experience you must feel, and that'll bring you your happiness and your balance. And once you attain that, and once you're connected with that, it'll bring you the peace of all time. That is not what's happening here. This Mars square Jupiter is a reminder, you're not going to find peace by emotionally feeling a certain way. This is about going through all the emotional experiences. And also not forcing a direction on, I need to feel this way. Well, if you need to feel a certain way, that means it's because you're avoiding, and this is what Pisces rules really well, avoidance. Avoiding things you don't want to feel again. The way you actually work through 12th house issues and Pisces issues is you actually get to a point to where if that shows up again, I'll deal with it. I'll accept it. I will accept God, and God will find me through this maze. God will find me through this thing. My intuition, my soul can handle it all. I can handle all of it. The strongest spiritual people and the people that go the farthest in the future are resilient and willing to take anything on in their past and remember it all, and are also never afraid of it if it does come back. If it comes back again where I get broken up with, or if I have to commit, or if I maybe lost all my money one time and was bankrupt, or if I did, whatever it might be, right? Bring it on. Because now I can understand my pattern better. But if you are hazy, I don't know what happened. There's funny stuff that happened there. The biggest clown show is the one where you are looking in the mirror and you don't want to ask, why do you want to be a clown right now? I don't know what happened. Right? If you ask a clown for anything serious, they can never give you an answer back. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. Well, no, the evolutional point here, in order for us to make a better world, to get rid of all of these horrible systems that are running, this is what Virgo is. Keep the engine going, keep the clock turning, keep the job going, keep the way it works going. Capricorn's the actual system itself and the high stakes that people do to keep these things together. That's over. This Virgo energy is now getting into the nook and crannies of all these systems that we've lived through that are crumbling. Let them crumble. You can't be afraid of letting things fall apart. You can't be afraid of being humble to God and kneeling spiritually and being like, you know what? Show me the path here, instead of gripping so tight. Instead of trying to direct where you think you'll find peace emotionally. It's also about acceptance, the acceptance of where your soul is at on its journey. A lot of people, that's not an easy one. Trust me, it'd be nice, I've been waiting 6 months now to get my back 2 molars that just got pulled in March. But I did bone regeneration, all that, whatever. I got 2 missing teeth for the first time in my life. Do you think I give a fuck when I smile or if anybody sees it? No, I don't give a fuck. Because Pisces is patience with time. Spirit shows up with what's needed. And the best things take some time spiritually. And especially with Saturn in Pisces. And this is a lunar eclipse with Saturn. Even though it's not exact, it's still in that realm. It's bringing up Saturn energy. Like, get control of your subconscious. Get control of what do you understand your own past? Do you understand your own history? How are you going to understand your future if you can't understand your past? Your now is your ticket to both, either one. But you have to be willing to understand in the now what happened in the past. So the first place I would go is September 7th, 2006. If you were young, what were your parents doing? Where were you living? Was there a job change? Was there a move change? Is that when something weird happened? Is that when other people have stories about this or that? If you're older, what was the job? What relationship were you in? Why is the theme of whatever's coming up during this time coming back up now, more pronounced? It's about getting to the bottom of that. And Pisces is a bottomless sea that feels like you'll never get to the bottom. But it's when you finally float to the top. When you finally allow it to be as it is and to see it for the eternal highest truth there is. I do like that we do have Uranus and Gemini because the possibilities to see the highest spiritual truths are within our grasp and in our grasp completely. It's whether or not you're willing to be honest and move through the layers of bullshit. I like that Saturn has retrograded back into Pisces. It's time to go through the layers of bullshit and actually say, you know what? Let's clear that bullshit out of my life. Let's stop blocking. The number one thing that Pisces represents in the 12th house is spiritual block. Now, being a fellow 12th house sun myself and Venus, I can tell you that the lesson I've learned this life as a 12th houser is that unless my life is 100% committed to spiritual life, then it will always be a hurdle my whole life. I don't care if, it's the only thing I have to focus on is just being 100% spiritual and embodying that fully. And I will be fine. Everything will work out. Money, life, everything. Ever since I realized that truth, boom. But before that, always a hurdle. Oh, right when I thought this job was good? No. Right when I thought this relationship was good? No. Right when I thought this was good? No. It pulls it away. This is also the eclipse that will spiritually pull away what God had intended and what you had intended if you want to go back into the deeper past, your past lives. What you had already set up as you came down here this life. What was meant to already be pulled to wake you up to surrender and be like, oh, thanks, God, we're getting rid of that. But to you in this reality, in this Virgo with this Mercury and the sun and the Saturn, this cannot. So it's whatever's, this cannot change. This cannot go away. This cannot, right? That, boom, that's the sensitive spot. Oh, you're worried about that person? Why don't you worry about nothing? Why don't you try worrying less? Why don't you try being like, let's see what magic happens here? Because you don't know what the outcome might be. The outcome might not be what you're thinking it is. And this is how we have to get out of our minds. And to me, like Venus as well at 15 degrees of Leo, it's in sesquiquadrant to the Saturn-Neptune intercept that's happening at the end of the zodiac and at the 0 and the 1 degree spot there of Aries. And so we are in between these worlds that are coming together and exiting one out and really opening up a plethora of new worlds in many ways. And we have to find our happiness and love and understand that we're in this in-between thing. And when we're in between the new world and leaving the old world, we have to love all of it. We have to love things that are going to fall apart right now and things that are not falling apart and things that are yet to come. It's about the ultimate surrender, the ultimate allowing it. And the hard part about Venus and Leo is it can be very focused on its own happiness only and at the cost where it's not thinking about others. And so you can't be making this with Mars square Jupiter in Cancer, with Mars here in Libra. Like wherever my little piece is, where I will feel good, wherever I'm going to feel happy, and that's my number one thing. No, you're doing it completely ass backwards. You're doing it to keep a system that isn't going to work. So here's another truth. You thinking, once I have this, I will be good. Once this changes. And this is 6th house, it's Virgo. Once my body, once I have that physical embodiment of whatever it might be, the job, once I lose the weight, once I gain the weight, once I get the muscle tone, once I go to the gym and get this, once I eat this, once this diet kicks in, all of that is a lie. Because it's avoiding the acceptance and to spiritually love the big vision that's forward. To get yourself out of the stress, because all of that will not lead to anything. Oprah at that time in 2006 was pushing with Beyonce the juice cleanse diet, okay? The green juice thing. Didn't work for Oprah, obviously, okay? And so it's like, imagine pushing that and stressing it and then you being stressed about all this stuff and it doesn't happen. I remember the stuff I was stressed with in September 2006. I actually didn't have a girlfriend that year. I had a girlfriend who was not my girlfriend because she cheated on me like 8 times and I was okay with it. I was just like, well, whatever. I guess we're not really together. It was like some of the biggest lessons in my life. Like I was stressing over somebody that would end up never, and it was like the sign was always there. So it's like, why are you stressing about something, especially whatever you're so stressed of, like this is the end of the world, because that can be happening very much with this Pisces. It's the end of the world if this happens. I guarantee you it's the beginning of the best world for your life. Guaranteed. I know that one might be kind of hard to take in, but that's the truth. With the full moon and with the lunar eclipse, it's about surrender, ironically. It's about what we release, where we've reached the peak point. We've reached the peak point of finally allowing ourselves to relieve and to accept. Now, that's a little difficult, right? The world had to begin to accept that a financial crisis was going to begin last time this happened. But people didn't want to. The businesses that began to shut down, the things that were happening at that time. This deals with the work and where we are spiritually. This deals with the collective and these systems and these day-to-day routines that people live, this mundane kind of ruled kind of world, and how you're just doing it all to be a mundane slave? Or are you here to actually have a spiritual badass life? And that's a bigger question, because we get a chance to go back, and whether you've been living too mundane or you've been living in a life of bullshit, this is allowing you to clean it up. This is allowing you to actually, because it's not about, well, once I get to the new world, that's pushing it off again. You just can't keep pushing shit off like that. Oh, yeah, once I get to that, no, we can't do that anymore. Not going to happen. And this is just Uranus retrograde, this lunar eclipse, and of course the next one at 29 Virgo, the solar, and opposition to Saturn, and especially opposition to Neptune. From a Helios standpoint, right now on this lunar eclipse that's going to happen here on the 7th, the main thing is Earth is on its way, from a helio point of view, to be where Earth is going to be right in the middle of Saturn and Neptune during the next eclipse. Literally. I'll take you to the 22nd. Oh, yeah, that's like exactly at the one little spot in the middle. Yeah, the midpoint. Earth is about to face, we are ending a world to begin a new one. Now, I know you're hearing a lot about 3i Atlas, and you're hearing a lot about, oh, well, 3i Atlas is going to be on the other side of the sun, starting out of our view October 3rd. Well, let's just look at Mars for a second. And we know the path at the moment, it could shift, but we know that the path is coming hyperbolically here, and then it's going to come here, and then Jupiter's out here, okay? So yeah, when it's here, October 29th, in opposition to Earth, right? Well, it'll probably be like here because Earth's coming this way. We can't see it, but we have to remember, fuck Avi Loeb's alien so it could stop to do a probe thing. Nobody's telling you that actually Earth has to confront the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Because next year when we do it, it'll already have happened and Saturn will be in front of Neptune. These are big changes that you must face. And sometimes it's the subtlety of, I'm going to stop doing that internally in myself. I'm going to stop bullshitting myself. I'm going to stop blanking myself out about that. I'm going to face the anxiety. I'm going to face why I'm worried about this so much. I'm going to face my worries. I'm going to face why I worry. I'm going to face why I'm always constantly trying to perfect myself. You are perfect as you literally are as a soul. You are perfect the way you are. You're perfect in every way. Spiritually. To be obsessed physically to be perfect is why so many people die of stress. It's the number one cause of death is stress. The number one cause of things that really, if you were to look back, the biggest regret is being stressed. There's no point. Because if there's one thing that maybe I won't say right now, but maybe I'll say when I get to my end day, whenever that day comes, that I can say that everything I always was worried about my whole life, whether it was the rent, whether it was this, whether it was that, it always worked out. I think we've forgotten that here on Earth. But at the same token, Pluto involved in this eclipse is a massive wake-up call with the Uranus station, retrograde in Gemini. It's the call for the revolution. Are we just going to sit here and take the bullshit from all sides? Are we people actually going to come together and fucking rise up and actually say, I don't want to be forced to have to only say this and I can't say that. Watch all these atrocities happen on every part of the globe, whether you're in this country or out of this country, and not be able to say an opinion about it, not feel that there is a home where we can say that stuff, where we can actually say, hey, this might sound weird, but that doesn't look normal. Whether it's the weird shit happening from what is happening with UAPs, what is this comet, what's happening with countries, what's happening with these wars, what's happening with Pedo City, what's happening with all this shit. We can't come together as people and agree that we don't want to see innocent children and people from around the world, I don't care where it is, be killed or go through atrocities. All these like talks of peace with really everybody's mounting up, and now we're the Department of War again, and now France has alerted every entire fucking hospital that you must be prepared that the world will be in war at the beginning of 2026. And if you don't believe me, that just came out today. And America renamed the Department of Defense back to the old name, the Department of War. And now it's not the Defense Secretary, it's the Secretary of War like it used to be. We don't have to go through that reality. And it's not going to happen as a miracle that Pisces brings. The miracle is when conscious people come together and do something about it. That's what Pluto and Aquarius is about. That's what Neptune and Aries is. Ones that are ready to bring their soul forward, bring the flame forward, it's not about the fight. It's about whether or not that you just have the guts and the courage to be your soul, to find other people who have the courage to do that too, and to do it with the love and to do it with the fire of the spark of a sound and common sense mind, being willing to question, being willing to go through what might feel like a discomfort, but actually we know the best comforts of all time are on the other side. If we just face these things that might seem bigger than they really are, as far as the fear to face them, we can face them, whether it's in your own life and in the world. It's not about which team is the best team. It's the team of the people. It's the team of the people that aren't going to buy what all these people have been bullshitting and all getting together and trying to create this idea that, we can do whatever we want and they're all going to follow now and they're all going to follow this way and we'll just keep them fighting. Not going to work that way. This place will get really ugly. The next 6 months will be the ugliest 6 months that we will ever see. And that's because people are still going to want to run the South Node in Virgo rut, run the same kind of story over and over again here of like, no, let's just keep things as they are. This works that way. No, it does not work. It does not work. Humanity, if it stays on this course and it keeps doing it, it's going to come to a bigger banana peel moment than this one. Although this is the banana peel moment, but some people are not aware of it yet. Whatever your issue might be, whether it's the price of groceries, whether it's the this or that, it doesn't have to be this way. We all talk about freedom. We all talk about it. We all talk about what it would be like to be free. There is no savior that's going to come and save the day, number one. Okay? There is no savior that's going to just, this person's the person. No. It's all of the people coming together. Pluto and Aquarius, the hardest lesson is, No, there is no savior. I mean, Uranus had to learn that one. Literally. Right? Like Uranus was doing pretty good till Saturn came along, his son, and fucking took him down. Sure, you could say Jupiter saved the day eventually. But is it really that? Or is it Saturn's wife, Rhea, who hid Jupiter from Kronos? There's so many people involved. Never one person. You can't idolize some person right now. Oh, well, they've got it under control. No. You can't keep the elephant in the room that makes no sense and there's a lot of fog around it and just, you know what? It's no big deal. It's a big deal. Look back exactly 19 years ago, same date. What were you doing? What's coming up again? What can you learn from that? What didn't you address? What were you afraid about? What were you too stressed about? How did it end up working out where a lot of your stresses were relieved? Why can't you unburden yourself from the chains of stress, maintaining an illusion of a bullshit system and a routine of life that this isn't working like this? And there is no common sense in that. And don't listen to people who say they are the voice of common sense, because the voice of common sense comes from the people, not one person. It's not when it's a tagline. You know, Thomas Paine, when he wrote Common Sense, did it in pamphlets. And of course, back then, you know, had to have a printing press and did it and got those pamphlets and it spread through the people. And then eventually George Washington ordered all the troops to actually read Common Sense and to actually understand it. The ideas of the framework of the idea of America and the Republic were written before Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense and other books about what a republic would look like and so forth. People have no idea that it's spread through people. So when you hear it and it's now being termed as like we're just doing the common sense thing, that's nice, but it's what people are seeing themselves. We all have to fight the glass ceiling of the illusion together. And that starts with how we withdraw from the things that are not serving us as a people. And you can't be afraid of that. This is going to take massive courage. You can't be afraid to confront the bullshit in your own life and the bullshit out there in the world that's happening. The things that have too many questions, the things that have too many foggy spaces, to say the least, or patterns that keep coming up that you push and say, no, that's not happening. Oh, what if you just ask yourself, maybe it is? You know, I told my wife today, I was just saying, it's like in Snow White, I always think about the evil queen and like what was Walt Disney in the movie version trying to do. It's Snow White. She's seeing herself young. The innocent girl. And of course, the evil queen, Snow White older, tries to have her killed. She doesn't want to remember that innocent part of herself, her soul self. She's living in a Three of Hearts life. So the box is the heart with the sword in it, like the three swords. It's got occult books there. She's turned into a dark part of the dark occult, right? But it's really the darker part of her soul that got older, very much because the mirror's having her Saturn in Pisces, Lunar Eclipse in Pisces, look in the past, and she's blanked it out. That she was the fairest of them all spiritually and lost that. And what do we try to do? If we look in the mirror and we don't accept the truth spiritually, we try to squash it. And that's what Snow White is. And so we all have to look in the mirror. This thing is touching every single person. And everybody's question of this reality and what's real and what's not. And where these questions about these realities aren't making sense, there's more to it there. wherever it doesn't make sense, wherever it feels shadowy, wherever it feels odd and weird and different and not in alignment with humanity, it's because it isn't. When it's in your own life and it's not in alignment with your soul and it's feeling off and it doesn't feel weird and it's causing a block somewhere that makes the most beautiful, loving energies not come together, that's what you have to address. All right, let's take a look at what card comes up. For this lunar eclipse in Pisces. North Node one, by the way. Jupiter in trine to the North Node is simple. It's a node. The nodes of the moon don't care about the other planets. They only care about the sun and the moon. Okay? They're the nodes of the moon. They only care because they're lining up eclipses. They are not serving anybody else but the king and the queen, the sun and the moon, the luminaries. They're not serving Jupiter. They are not serving any planet. Planets try to get in with the nodes. That's why when planets and nodes are together, they're not the best. They take away. Okay? The node takes away half the energy. So the astrology that's out there about nodes and people, and I'm a North Node, and all the node is saying in the trine to Jupiter is there is safe harbor for those that are going to go into Pisces. You're going to go into the place that looks like it's going to be the end of the world when it's not. The safe harbor is waiting for us if we actually spiritually break the glass ceiling, break the illusion of the reality, break the illusion that it's okay that we sit in a world where people are being killed, there's pedos running around, and there's people idolizing fucking people right now like crazy. There's religions running around creating holy wars again. Like, this is got to fucking stop. That there's safe harbor when you take the confidence to go out there, and with Uranus now Gemini and retrograde in Gemini, you've got to rethink, like, you know what, we need to connect with the people and we need to find a voice together. You're not going to be able to do it alone. Neptune in Aries is the illusion. I'm going to be able to just do this alone. No, you are not. No, you are not. We have massive tribes and allies that all need to come together. This is what these eclipses and this is what this 6 months will be about. Whether you are willing to look in the mirror and accept that truth is up to you. And this is what God and angels and beings and aliens and all the weird things watching us are willing to see, if we'll do it or not. It's all come to this moment. And that's why, if you're feeling bored with your life and you're focused on trying to fix it, it isn't going to be through your standard Virgo, just do this or just change this or just go to this. No. It is on the most spiritual path, and giving your path to spirit and joining in tandem with that and actually going on that journey and facing your blocks. Right? When you have a spiritual block, it affects your physical. It's not, if I change my physical, I'll change the physical. No. All right. Four of Swords in reversed. I don't mind the Four of Swords. I actually think it's one of the best swords cards. But, you know, we're not in a place right now. We need to spend more time and relax and chill and take stock on what's happening, and also come into a place of appreciation. Four of Swords is a place where the knight, he's appreciating himself before he goes to battle, or he's just gotten back from battle and is an appreciation, always in a place of divine energy, because he's grateful that he survived, or he's asking for that blessing to come back to his family, to his country, to whatever it might be. But the fact that this is reversed, you're not taking the time to appreciate what you already have now, spiritually. You're focusing on, I need this, once I have this, once this changes. And we got the Four of Cups to follow that. So yes, it's good to keep your eye on the prize. But where then that momentary aspect has to be is like, okay, you know what? I'm appreciating my now. Because if you're a prized, appreciative person in this moment, then the future holds a prize for you. If you can't do that now and you're unhappy and you're like stressed about this and you're just going to accept bullshit, well then what's waiting for you on the other side? Bullshit. You'll unify with more bullshit. So I just want to also let people know that I after 2 years, I'm doing readings again. Of course, I didn't make it really that big public. I did it more for high vibe people, but there are slots. I'm keeping it open at the rate I did for Labor Day up until the end of this weekend. So if you do want a reading, it's on the links down below. You can go to highvibe.tv. I appreciate you all. Definitely join us on High Vibe TV and lots of Hypergate AI stuff coming out as we continue right now. Of course, we're on full reasoning model now and so forth and doing a lot of stuff. And a lot of people use it even as a full-blown astrology tool, but also massive predictive tool and understanding where you can add charts now of other people and run them in Hypergate. So it's pretty badass. We got a lot of new updates on our roadmap ahead. Still working on a lot of those things right now and appreciate all the support. And if you haven't checked it out, actually use the AI astrology that actually fucking works and it is bomb. I appreciate you all so much. Hope to see you on High Vibe or on Hypergate or just anywhere, hopefully in this now moment where you break through the glass ceiling, we can together break a lot of this illusion and not live in this world where people just want to live in BS corruption and pick a side that they think is better than the other and lose themselves in a civil war over stupid shit. I appreciate you all. Take care. Bye-bye.